The regular meeting for the Sonoma City Council to order. I apologize that we were 5 minutes late, but we had another meeting prior to this that ran over. If you were here for this meeting, maybe you could come inside and have a seat or close the doors so that we can continue. How are you doing, Coach? All right. All right, welcome Sonoma Dragon football. All right, I want all you strapping young men to stand there and smile for a moment while we run through a couple of quick items. This is a regular council meeting, and we need to do a roll call.
Councilmember Dean.
Present.
Councilmember Lowe. Here. Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Here.
Councilmember Wellander.
Here.
Mayor Gurney.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. And the next item we need is an approval of the agenda for tonight.
I move approval.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. And right now we need to do the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody could join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Now let's return to the matter of the evening. We are here tonight to recognize an awesome group of men who made us all very proud. And tonight, I'm going to actually, as mayor, delegate some comments to one of your biggest fans. He was at most of your games and certainly the playoff games. So, Councilmember Wellander, would you please share your observations?
Thank you very much. I have been known to be long-winded, but tonight will not be the case. Your city council is very proud of your incredible season. Our small town got to experience our very own Friday Night Lights. Undefeated during the regular season, and in the playoffs, winning 2 out of 3 games. And yes, your only defeat came at the hands of the repeat state champions. Your support was evident as you filled the grandstands with fans week after week. You actually drew more fans at your away games than the home team. There is a probability that some who came to watch their Dragons had a bad work week. They found themselves living vicariously through your success on the field. They left with a better outlook, making for a better weekend, and maybe possibly a better upcoming week. You set a high bar. Post-season league accolades included 12 awards shared by 11 players, selected as either Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, first or second team offense defense. That's rather remarkable. I'll say unbelievable. Seniors, take this positive experience going forward with confidence, a quiet confidence, as you pursue success in college, in a trade, or in life in general. Underclassmen, use this as motivation to continue your next season, keeping the winning streak going. Keep in mind, your success was in part due to the generous giving of time by your coaches, both present and past. Remember to give back to your community in the future. Sonoma is a town with a beautiful setting, rich history, good people, and now a town with a great and memorable football team. Again, you have made your town, your council, and your fans very proud. In the words of the beloved now past high school sports announcer Mario Aliotto, it's great. It's a great day to be a Dragon. And I'd like to modify in saying it was a great season to be a Dragon. So again, thank you and congratulations.
All right, Mr. Wellander, thank you very much. I think we all share those sentiments, and I think you would be an excellent graduation speaker this year. So, hang on, we got a presentation here. All right. Where's that? There you are. Anyway, we're presenting a certificate of recognition to the team, and again, awesome, Steve. Awesome. Thank you so much. I have green. All right. Fantastic. I think we may have exceeded the capacity of the room. I could be wrong.
Mr. Mayor, do they know that the city hall was lit up green for the okay.
Yes, they do. And
I just want to say a lot of people around town were asking me that. And so I just, so just make sure they know. Dragon pride all the way.
okay, we will continue moving through the agenda here. And next is another presentation. And specifically, this is a proclamation of congratulations to the Sonoma sister cities. Pronounce it.
Musigny.
Musigny. Yeah.
Musigny.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Oui, oui.
So, and again, as mayor, I'm delegating this proclamation presentation to our former mayor, Sandra Lowe, because she has actually been there
Yes,
and visited.
She is the one who has rekindled the relationship
Aw.
for us, went and discovered this magnificent village that actually touched the heart of another Sonoman, Frank Bartholomew, in 1959. And so we are celebrating December 14th, 2024 as our 65th anniversary as a sister city.
Wow.
So we want to thank all of you for your support of Sister Cities, and we want to thank the visiting board of directors and also President Emeritus of Sister Cities International, Bill Borum.
Okay.
And
Bill,
yeah,
all right.
Bill and Nancy have
So
done
let's
much.
see
Yeah.
if we can put some structure to this here.
absolutely.
Let us present the proclamation, and then we would love to hear from anybody that would like to speak to us regarding the relationship.
Thank you so very much. And before we get into the official part, everybody should wish Mr. Robert Demler a happy 84th birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Robert.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
All right. Take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the honor of sharing this proclamation. In congratulations to Sonoma Sister City, Chambolle-Musigny Committee on the occasion of their 65th anniversary. Whereas the City of Sonoma and the City of Chambolle-Musigny in Burgundy, France, established a sister city relationship on December 14th, 1959, and whereas the City of Sonoma recognizes the effort, coordination, and commitment required of each sister city committee to maintain an active and alive relationship through several official exchanges between Sonoma's families, students, and wineries over the years, and whereas as a result of the Sonoma and Chambolle-Musigny sister city relationship, many lasting friendships between residents of both cities have developed that have been beneficial for Sonoma's wine and tourism-based economy. And therefore, the mayor hereby congratulates the Sonoma Sister City Chambolle-Musigny Committee upon your 65th anniversary and expresses appreciation on behalf of the City Council for this historic relationship, which was the first sister city established in the city of Sonoma. Thank you so much. I'm honored to share this with you.
Thank you, and we're very honored to present to you our committee chairman for Chambolle-Musigny, Mr. Vic All.
Oh, thank you.
I just wanted to thank you for supporting us, and we look forward to working with you in 2025.
All right. Who am I presenting this to? Who wants to receive said proclamation?
Come on.
Okay.
Team effort.
All right. I'm presenting this to
Vic All.
all three of you. Get over here. Is there, oh, wait, turn around. The camera is walking behind us.
Smile at Sarah.
There you go. All right. Okay. That's that.
And just a very brief background in that we've had a wonderful relationship this past year, thanks in great part to Sandra, who was in our sister city in 23. And as a result, the partially dormant committee has come alive. We have been hosting visitors from Chambolle throughout the course of the year, and Victor had the great privilege of welcoming Francois and Michelle Millet. Francois is one of the foremost producers of Pinot Noir and was here in California, Oregon, and Canada teaching people how to work with that particular grape. So we were very honored to have the Millets, and the Borums were very gracious in hosting Francois and Michelle. So we thank you, Sandra, very much for what you've done for us, and we look forward to another wonderful 65 years. Thank you so very much.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Can we redistrict them into our, no, I'm sorry.
Okay, next item is certification of election and reorganization. Item 2.1, adopt a resolution reciting the facts of the general municipal election held on November 5th, 2024, declaring the result and such other matters as required by law. City Clerk Barr.
Thank you, Mayor Gurney and Council. On November 5th, here in the city, a general municipal election was held for the purpose of the electing 2 council members and the consideration of a ballot measure, Measure T, which was a transaction and use tax. The Register of Voter has completed the canvass, and Sandra Lowe and Jack Dean were the successful candidates and have been elected to the City Council for a full term of 4 years each. And the voters did indeed approve Measure T, and so therefore it was passed. In compliance with Elections Code 10262B, as the elections official, I'm required to present the certification of the results to the City Council, which is what we're doing this evening. And then if the council will, as they adopt the resolution, that will complete the certification of that resolution. If you you have any questions.
All right. Well, first of all, congratulations to Mr. Ding and Sandra Lowe. All right. Is there a motion to adopt said resolution?
Would you like to take public comment?
Oh, that's an excellent. Is there any comment on this particular item from the public? Seeing none, we will go ahead and entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Oh, I want the second.
Oh, I thought you said,
No, that's okay.
I didn't hear, I thought you were
No, that's fine.
asking for a second.
Okay, we have a second, we have first.
We have a third, we have so many.
Anyway, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dean,
Aye.
Councilmember Lowe,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas,
Aye.
Councilmember Wellander,
Yes.
Mayor Gurney.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
All right. Item 2.2 is the oath of office of newly re-elected council members, Jack Ding and Sandra Lowe. How would you
And
like to proceed, or do you need
I
to?
would just like whoever would like to proceed first.
We can't do it together.
You can, if you would like to, you can do it together.
Let's do it together.
Team
You guys would like to-
oath. Okay.
Okay, team oath. Can we just stand, or do you need us to go somewhere? Okay.
There may be a Kodak moment to be had.
Kodak moment, definitely. Together, because that's Jack's favorite word, right? We'll work together, right?
All right, so if you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I,
Jack
Sandra Lowe,
Council member. Do solemnly swear or affirm.
Do solemnly swear
That I will support and defend.
that I will support and defend
The Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
and I will bear the true faith and allegiance
To the Constitution of the United States.
to the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California.
of the Constitution of the State of California,
That I take this obligation freely.
that I take this obligation freely
Without any mental reservation.
without any mental reservation
Or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
and that I will well faithfully discharge
The duties upon.
the duties upon
Which I'm about to enter.
which I'm about to enter. Thank you.
Certification of election. I just need you to sign your oath.
All right, thank you.
All right. Moving along. Item 2.3, City Council reorganization. And I need to pull up. Did you get it? One moment, little glitch. Okay. Okay, so this is reorganization of the city council. My term as mayor has come to an end. And there should be some kind of a presentation to the outgoing mayor by the vice mayor. That's you, okay.
Yes, yeah. So, I know how much you've been waiting to receive this. So first of all, I want to give you this really amazing item. I'm not sure if it like, so this is your crystal, mallet, whatever you call these things.
All right.
So I want you to receive this, but before, I want you to hold that well. And there's also a stand for you to put it on if you want to.
Lovely.
I'm
Lovely.
not sure how that
Okay.
balances, but I see how it goes. Okay. Yes, this is the comedy section of the evening. No. So here we go. So I just want to say what a pleasure it has been, I think, for all of us, but also on behalf of myself, to serve on this council with you as our mayor. I think that you have brought decades of your skills of community leadership to this council, and that you're an exemplary example of how to lead with objectivity, efficiency, humor, and empathy. And thank you so much.
Well, first of all, some of you may not know this, but I'm a little more official about things, so thank you very much. Thank you. We can get back to business now. So, anyway, serving as mayor was an honor, and I have to say that the best part of being mayor are the other 4 council members that are sitting up here. We have played together, I think, quite well, and I think we have moved the community forward in a very positive way on many different levels. And when we talk about what we've achieved this last year, I think anybody would be impressed. But it's because of the work of everybody that's on this council, not me. I can drive a meeting, as some of you know, and that's my secret power. And I will take that to my grave, actually. And so I have appreciated working with everybody, and the good news is I've got 2 more years up here, and I hope to be able to contribute equally well as a council member. And so, having said that, thank you for the recognition. I think I actually said I wanted nothing. After 29 years in law enforcement, I'm kind of plaqued and trophied out. So, but thank you very much. Very, very nice. Now, I want to turn to who drives the next part of this conversation.
Do we want public
Would that-
comment?
Typically, we take public comment on the.
You and public comment. Okay, all right. So, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this matter, which is quite uninteresting? Seeing one. Okay.
Robert Dembler, First Street West, Sonoma. I like to talk, as you know. I missed my chance with the sister cities, and I want to echo what our president said about our council person, Sandra Lowe, who really got the French committee started again. Thank you. I said this when John exited his term as president of Rotary, and I'm going to repeat myself if I can remember, probably not, but close. I said at that time, John conducts his Rotary meetings just like he conducts his city council meetings. Does that sound familiar, Mr. Mayor?
Vaguely.
Yeah. Well, are you 84? So I want to say the same thing. Our mayor conducts this meeting with a great deal of humor, a great deal of casualness, which makes everybody in the audience comfortable. And he occasionally forgets about the 3-minute rule, which I always appreciate. And I want to thank him for being with us this past year, and wish him well. And we have high expectations for the next 2, now that you're well trained. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Denler. All right. Any other public comment? Excellent. We will close the public comment. And now I found the instructions that I was looking for. Apparently, I'm still in charge to some degree. So I am now going to ask for nominations for the position of mayor. And to make a nomination, council members need only state, "I nominate blank." And nominations do not require seconds. However, other members may express support of a nomination by making a seconding speech, whatever that is. And when there are no more nominations, the mayor will declare nominations for the position of mayor closed and will allow public comments again, if any. A roll call vote will then be taken, beginning with the first nominee. If that nominee receives a majority vote, they are declared the winner, and no additional votes are taken on the remaining nominees. If a majority vote is not achieved for any reason, for any of the nominees, the nomination and voting process will be repeated, so forth and so on. So, having said that, are there any nominations for mayor?
Mr. Mayor, it'd be my honor to place in nomination Vice Mayor Patricia Farrar-Rivas.
Well, we have a nomination. All right. Are there any other nominations? Public comment? Seeing none, I will bring it back to the council. We have a nomination. Roll call.
Councilmember Ding,
Aye.
Councilmember Lowe,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Farrar-Rivas,
I should think about this, right?
You should.
Aye.
Councilmember Wellander, Mayor Gurney.
Absolutely.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
Well, there we go. And I'd like to present to you. Okay. And I suspect that we need to go through the same process, or does the new mayor now? Very good. Okay. It's all yours.
It's all mine. So it's all mine. This is my first act as mayor. Exciting. So what I'd like to do is, once again, we're going to go through the same process that we just talked about, except for mayor, it will be for vice mayor. And I will refrain from rereading the whole process again, because I think we've all got it. So what I'd like to do is ask for nominations for vice mayor.
New mayor, may I nominate Ron Wellander as the next vice mayor?
We have one nomination for Councilmember Wellander. Do we have any other nominations? Any comments?
I don't have a nomination, but I would like to second that nomination and make a speech, as I apparently am allowed to do. So I think Ron has exhibited such incredible dedication to his role as a city council member. I think this is a perfect opportunity for him to serve as vice mayor. Thank you.
Agreed. I second that comment. Public comment. We already did that? Do we do that? No need for public comment. That's right. These are just nominations, right?
No, we can do the public
Okay.
comment.
Do we have
Unless the nominations are not yet closed. Did you close
Nominations are still open.
They're still open.
So should we do the vote first and then take
No, you should
public comment?
close nominations, then take public comment, then come back for a vote.
Okay. I'm going to close the nominations, take public comment. Do we have any public comment on this matter? Okay. Seeing none, then we will move. City Clerk Barr, could you please take the roll for us?
Councilmember Ding,
Aye.
Councilmember Lowe. Vice Mayor Wellander.
Present.
Councilmember Gurney.
Yes.
And Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Yes, very enthusiastically.
Thank you.
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously.
Councilmember-
Madam Mayor, if we could just make sure that the unanimous vote reflected the audible sound of present indicating an aye vote.
And now our new Vice Mayor Wellander is in charge of Vice. I was in charge of Vice for the last year, and now I'm handing it over to you. But I also have just one quick comment. I'd like to say that I would like to dedicate this year to the year of a climate-smart Sonoma, promoting people, planet, and community. And now I think we're going to move on to our next item on the agenda, which requires a sweet tooth. I believe that we have a 15-minute recess here before we continue on with the rest of our agenda. And the rest of the agenda is very good, so for those of you that want to stay, please stay. And we have cookies coming out. So I will just, I don't have to use the gavel. 15-minute recess starting now.
Well.
I'll help her.
Excuse me, the buttons are different when you're mayor. I didn't realize that. So much to learn. So we're going to item number 4 on the agenda. I'm going to call for public comment. This time, members of the public may address the council on matters not listed on this agenda, but which are within the subject matter of the jurisdiction of the council. The public comment period will be limited to 10 speakers. Each speaker will be allowed up to 2 minutes. Speakers who do not have an opportunity to speak during this time will be allowed to make public comment under agenda item number 10 during our second public comment period. Please form a line to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor, my name is Madeline Agramani, 471 Pear Tree Court, here in Sonoma. I'm here this evening to share comments regarding the newly established warming center recently opened December 9th and 10th. SOS, of which I sit on their board, appreciates the funding Sonoma County provided in order to make the facility available. This afternoon, I attended my first by names list meeting and will be attending it for Executive Director Kathy King as needed. While SOS appreciates the warming center being opened on threshold days, we request that notification be given to the Valley providers earlier in the day. An earlier notification will enable providers to alert homeless clients to make plans to avoid the inclement weather. At the by names list meeting, Gary Johnson, Administrative and Fire Chief, also asked that the message of the warming center could be circulated to a wider list of agencies and organizations within the Valley to state dates and times. SOS's Unity Kitchen will be visited by Home First on Thursdays to interview prospective people in need. I plan to attend on Thursdays to familiarize myself for their work. The Home First outreach team connects homeless individuals in Sonoma Valley to emergency shelters and permanent housing. I will join Home First staff on Thursdays. I'm also here to make a plea on behalf of the Sonoma Valley's homeless and the need for a permanent winter shelter. I'm a bureaucrat, I've been one for 40 years. I know that this city council can make that happen, and so I'm just putting that request in. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Agramante. Do we have anybody else who would like to make public comment at this time? Thank you. I will close public comment at this moment. And next, we will move to agenda item number 5, meeting dedications. Does anybody have a dedication this evening? Seeing none, we will move on to agenda number 6, council members' reports and comments. Do we have reports or comments from the council members? Mr. Wellander? No?
I do have.
Councilmember Jane?
Yeah. November the 21st, I was attending the Sonoma Zero Waste in Sonoma. And because that was the last meeting of this year. We just gotten a lot of updates, and we didn't have any important agenda to discuss and approve. And also wait a minute. I forgot that day, that the last city council meeting, I wasn't absent. I represent, December 4th, December 4th. I represent our then mayor, John Gurney, to attend Ukraine Consul General and the reception, because that is very important. And also, I was arranged for 3 minutes and a remark that had become an American news and also international news, because according to Ukraine, And they are so proud. They are not only got a support from the White House, from the DC, also they can get a support from the small town like Sonoma. So Sonoma basically, and we are in a small town, but truly we can play very important, significant role on the international stage, just like our today's and high schools and the Dragon team, because out in the cities, invisible assets, I said it's more valuable in some way. Yeah, so thank you so much, John, letting me represent you to attend this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Day. Do we have other reports? Councilwoman Lowe?
Yes, on December 9th, I attended the SCTA, RCPA meeting. It was, I just want to note the final meeting for Melanie Bagme from Cloverdale, and it's a tremendous loss for those of you who've worked with Melanie. She's done so much, especially with promotion of SMART, the train in Sonoma County, and we will miss her, and I just wanted to shout her out. Also to let you know that incoming Supervisor Rebecca Hermosillo will be our representative on the Highway 37 Task Force, which I think is perfect. She's been working with Congressman Thompson over the years, understands the federal involvement in the project, and I look forward to her leadership on that. And also, I do have some renderings of what the roundabout at 116 and 121 will look like, because I know there are some people that are very concerned about it, and I'm happy to share them with you at any time. They're going to be, it's sort of a naturalistic thing, large boulders. So I know we're going to be hearing about art later, and perhaps in the future we'll have other such public displays. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. I have a few, and I will be as quick as possible here. So on December 5th, I attended the meeting of Sonoma Clean Power Board. And one of the things that they announced, I'll try to make this as non-financial as possible, is a renewable energy prepayment transaction bond, Series 2024G, which is a 30-year tax-exempt green bond. And basically what it does is it allows Sonoma Clean Power to pre-purchase energy. So they're pre-purchasing wind, solar, and geothermal. And this basically will lock in a price that will provide customers of Sonoma Clean Power a value of $47 million over 7.5 years. So the staff worked very hard on it, but their new CFO really brought this idea, and also they were able to implement it quickly at a time, at a really good timing. So the other thing that happened was we approved the parameters for the 2025 rate setting, and also set a goal of 5 to 7% savings to go to Sonoma Clean Power customers compared to the PG&E bundled service total bill. So ideally that is the goal, that if you're a Sonoma Clean Power customer, your bill would be 5 to 7% less. The other thing is we allocated 5% of the revenue to Sonoma Clean Power's local investment fund. So what that fund does is primarily investing in purchasing other opportunities to own power for low-income projects in low-income communities. That is currently at $12.8 million, but then will be added to in 2025. And last but not least, we carried through on a resolution to Diablo Canyon to call for a credible and a definite plan to close Diablo Canyon by 2030. And I just want to say, with all of this, the goal is to really lower customers' prices, to make sure that we have a reliable transmission grid, and really to make sure that our energy is as highest percentage of clean energy as possible, and through that transition to manage it so that people are paying the lowest possible prices for energy. And then I attended last night the Sonoma Valley Citizens Advisory Commission, and that was the last meeting of the year, and it was really kind of a party, and not really a meeting. But we also had Supervisor Sue Gorin there from our outgoing Supervisor Sue Gorin from District 1 to present to us for the accomplishments for the year. Now, moving on, we will move to our good, yes. Oh, I think we do have a comment here, yes.
Yes,
Councilmember Gurney.
you mentioned Susan Gorin. I attended with the city manager, Mr. Wellander, and somebody else was there. However, we presented to Susan Gorin at the supervisors meeting in Santa Rosa a certificate of recognition, a key to the city, and a charm to the city that looks a lot like a little key. And anyway, it was very well received, and she had a lovely, lovely outgoing meeting with the Board of Supervisors. So there you go.
Thank you very much. So now we are going to go to our Community Development Director, Jennifer Gates, for comments from the city. Do you have any comments for us?
I do, thanks to a great team that we have here. So thanks to Sarah and Rebecca have provided me with my lovely list. So I will be as brief as possible. So first is the new City Council Chambers rotating art installation, which is featuring photos of the 2024 treasure artist Victor Farrar-Rivas Grupo Florico Quetzalan and Sonoma Valley Performers. Victor Farrar is the founder and executive director of the dance group. Sonoma City offices will be closed from Tuesday, December 24th through Thursday, January 2nd in observance of the Christmas and New Year's holidays. Public Works will maintain staffing on the non-holiday weekdays while the city offices are closed, and city staff will also be ready to respond to any emergencies that may arise. The city also partnered with the County of Sonoma to activate the Emergency Warming Center at the city's emergency homeless shelter, which was noted earlier, formerly called The Haven, on December 8th and 9th, and it provided a warm, safe space for 5 individuals during our freezing temperatures. And thank you to the City Council's authorization and funding for those repairs. Much were completed in-house by our Public Works staff, and the facility was in a turnkey condition for this weather event. And we are glad that we can provide this resource to our region and grateful for the county's proactive outreach to ensure that it was open when we needed it. The City Council has partnered with HDL companies to launch our HDL Business Support Center, which will be streamlining our business license applications, renewals, payments, and inquiries. And all the information is available on our website. And so that is active now for all those business license renewals. The city also invites our community to participate in the upcoming council goal setting session that will be on Thursday, January 30th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Blue Oak Room in the Lodge at Sonoma. And the public comment period is expected to take place around 10:20 a.m. for any of those that would like to share their thoughts. And if you want to spend the whole day with me, that night at 6 o'clock will be the general plans community meeting to discuss land use at the Vintage House. Also wanted to note that the Alcalde nomination period closes at 5 on January 3rd, and that info is available on our website. Not last, sorry, got 2 more. Also wanted to note that there is more rain on the way this weekend and next week, and we have this city's self-service sandbag filling station is in the depot parking lot, and we have sandbags on hand for our rainy season. So please come and get your free sandbags. They're at City Hall. We do have a limit of 10 bags per resident that we ask, and they're available while our supplies last. And of course, as always, Freedman's Home Improvement Center does have additional bags for purchase. You will, however, need to bring your own shovel. I just want to make note of that. Also, last, not the least, but the last, we did want to note, and it was discussed earlier too, that the city holiday tree and lighting, there have been some questions. So this year, Sonoma decorations for the holidays included our wreaths along Broadway Street, the lights on City Hall, the Carnegie Building, and our plaza trees, and then the colorful uplighting. And our beloved events have included the lighting of the plaza, our tractor parade, Santa's visit. We had a hospice tree lighting, and today we had a Hanukkah celebration in the Plaza Amphitheater hosted by the congregation Shir Shalom. And we understand that there have been a lot of questions, and that the green uplighting, as noted earlier, was in celebration of the Sonoma Dragons football team's successful season and reflecting our community pride. And so that concludes the city manager's normal comments, but community development director today.
Thank you, Director Gates. Thank you for your comments. And now I am going to look to our city attorney, David Rudderman, to see if you have any comments for this evening.
I just wanted to congratulate again Council Members Lowe and Ding on their reelection, and you, Mayor Farrar-Rivas, and Vice Mayor Wellander on your appointments. Wish you all a happy holidays and a happy New Year.
Well, thank you. Lovely comment.
That's okay, just ignore me, I'm chopped liver
These relationships are fickle. Okay, so moving on. I would like to, I have one more comment I need to make under the council members' reports and comments. It's a very quick one. Is I am asking council members to continue in their current positions that they hold in the different commissions, and that with the exception of those that are filled by the mayor and the vice mayor, so instead of it being Councilmember Gurney and myself, it will be Councilmember Wellander and myself. So, and we please feel free to communicate with our city manager or with me in regards to any positions that you, if you feel as if you are carrying too much and would like to make some adjustments. Thank you. And with that, we will move on to our consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon by a single motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless members of council or staff request specific items to be moved or a separate action. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar, or do you have anything
So
you'd like
moved.
to?
I second.
Should we do public comment on the consent
Oh,
calendar?
I think that's a good idea. So at this moment, I will call for public comment on the consent calendar. Good, seeing none. We have someone that has made a motion, and we have a second on that. I'm sure I can accept them, even though I'm doing it after public comment, or hoping I can. Could you please run the roll call? Thank you.
Councilmember Dean. Aye. Councilmember Lowe.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wellander.
Yes.
Councilmember Gurney.
Yes.
Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
Madam Mayor? Yes. Just a point, and I'm looking for some guidance from our city attorney. I noticed that the presenter on our updated public art policy is sitting nicely there, and yet it's listed towards the end. Is it in order to allow that to be moved up?
Yeah, that's at the discretion of the council, so if that's the will of the council, that change can be made. None of these were noticed for a specific time period.
The rest are presentations by staff, and I'd like to just allow our chair to present earlier, if at all possible.
I think if everybody agrees, I think that would be
support.
fine. As long as we have everybody's support. Great, we don't need a vote on that. Okay, great. No, I'm very excited for this next presentation as well. And so we are actually going to go to item 11.3, which is the consideration of the updated public art policy, including the expansion of temporary installations and introduction of an ordinance amending Chapter 19.51 of the Sonoma Municipal Code to align with the revised policy. And I would love to introduce Connie Sheelan. I always want to make sure I'm pronouncing it right. You can say it again.
Schleline.
Shaline. Shaline. Very nice. Okay. And Sarah, we're going to have Sarah start off with the presentation. our senior analyst and our public information officer, Sarah Tracy.
Thank you so much, Mayor Farrar-Rivas and council members. And with the theme, the audible, getting an audible, I was expecting to be the last, so here I am. Very happy to be here tonight. It's my great honor to bring this policy update to you. I know it's a long time in the making, but I will not belabor very long. I will move right along. So, how did we get here? The city has a current public art policy. It was created in 2008. The original intent was primarily focused on permanent art installations, and specifically art installations that was limited really to the application of city funded projects, development projects over $250,000. The idea was 1% of that would go into the fund. That fund would then be used for a permanent art project on that specific site, and if not that specific site, somewhere nearby. So the original intent was really very limited to those particular projects, of which I'm not sure it was ever fully realized since 2008 and used. Flash forward to 2017. The picture that you see is an installation that was part of a Paley exhibit that the Sonoma Valley Museum of Art did in the plaza and surrounding downtown area. And it was a really wonderful addition to the plaza, but there was no real procedure to receive that kind of, just exposed all sorts of gaps. Our public art policy didn't allow for temporary art installations, of which this would be considered temporary art. There also then, of course, was no program to be able to receive applications or anything like that along those lines. So it just started a conversation about how it might be, the city might be able to develop a program, and this policy seemed to be a good fit. So if you'll notice, there's a bit of a gap between 2017 and 2023 when the ad hoc was formed. You might also remember those were kind of some exciting, unfortunately exciting years, with the 2017 fires coming pretty soon after this installation, and then followed by a number of subsequent emergencies, including COVID. So the project got necessarily delayed. But in 2023, we formed the ad hoc. I say we. I was there at the meeting, but I did not participate. We formed an ad hoc committee to look at updating the policy, specifically with the focus of adding temporary art into that policy. And in 2024, after a lot of good work and realizations that adding temporary art isn't as simple as adding a definition and just putting "and temporary art" wherever you see the word permanent, it required a little bit more in-depth looking at, and a lot of work from our ad hoc members doing a lot of research. It was brought back to the Cultural and Fine Arts Commission that then reviewed it and has now recommended the draft for you to consider for adoption. And now I will turn it over to Connie to talk about the ad hoc committee and Cultural and Fine Arts role in this process.
Thank you. And thanks to city council members who have been amazingly supportive of the arts. Our city manager, who isn't here but has really helped, and city staff who just have been vital. Also, thanks to the Cultural and Fine Arts ad hoc commissioners, Meredith Navard and Lauren Kirshner, for their amazing expertise and real commitment. If you didn't know, the Cultural and Fine Arts Commission's been around for over 4 decades. It's one of the city's most enduring commissions. And this year's Cultural and Fine Arts Commission is particularly unique because they have a shared vision and we're willing to work on it. And we worked hard. Sonoma, as you all know, and we all feel, is a great place. But with a little tweaking, it could be an even more beautiful and environmentally friendly place. And a more artful community with bike walk pathways filled with artful delights, entryways that are inviting, intriguing, and make you curious. Everything we need is here. And that included an old, dusty public art policy that we started to dig into. 1 year ago, our arts positive city manager, David Guin, encouraged us to get wonky, dig into and modernize a 20-year-old
CFAC policy. We formed an ad hoc committee, and he warned us that policy refinement isn't sexy work. It is a bit nerdy, and it was, and sort of legal too, which we discovered quite a bit. So we dug in and we discovered several outdated and needed changes, like temporary art installations. And what does that mean? What is that? I think you've seen one with the Albert Paley, but that's not everything that temporary public art can be. Permanent art, on the other hand, you think about, is expensive usually. It requires maintenance and money to take care of it. It has to exist over 20 years. It also is permanent. So that's a big commitment for our city. Money goes a lot further with temporary art. You may have seen it in Napa as you've walked along the riverfront, where they have bases, but they change out the sculptures. And they pay about $3,000 for a sculptor to put their art there for a year. So what happens is that it educates the community. It gets people used to art and bike pathways in different places besides just as a centerpiece. It also helps us measure what they like, and also creates a discussion point for communities and takes attention down because they know it's not permanent. And there's always the opportunity to make it permanent if enough people love it. So it's really a pretty fun thing, and it also can be a community event. An example, in Vail. I lived in Vail right before I moved here. They hired a man named Patrick Doherty to come in and do a happening. And the entire community in the valley gathered willows, created this giant willow sculpture along the Eagle River, which is still there today. Everyone from the ski bumps in the trailer parks to the mayor were out building this structure, and it brought an entire community together. So those are the types of things that are possible when you have a temporary art policy. It unifies a community. The other things we did: clarify roles and responsibilities for public art management, revise the draft you have before you, and we are proposing a 1% for the public art for private developments over $250,000, but that is in a fee study at this point, so that's on pause. We've got to do the work to check that out. Our role was to review the draft policy and recommend to you the updated policy for approval. If approved, if you approve it tonight, then our work starts in terms of creating a toolbox. So looking at a public art plan, looking at a possible map of the city where public art might go, and really thinking about what we can be. Why should you pass it tonight? Because the arts, because this public art policy will help the creative economy of our community. It will deepen our community involvement. There's much fear in our immigrant community. The arts elevate mood and make people feel better. And so, and it can't be underestimated what a beautiful community does. School closures, all those sorts of things need addressing, and having hope and having beauty is how we can help. The arts also improve equity, diversity, and inclusion, and we would love to see an arts improvement goal within the general plan. Thank you for all you do for our wonderful community, and let's make it prettier.
Thank you very much. Did you have some additional comments, Sarah?
Yeah, I have. So the wonky part comes now. I'm in charge of wonky. The artist got to speak, and now I'm back. Government's back. Just to run for the benefit of the group and also anybody watching, kind of just a little bit of a summary of what has been updated from the 2008 policy to 2004 draft. Connie covered many of these, but the main one was to add the temporary installations, but when you do that, it kind of was a domino effect for other things that had to be updated. So the other one, which was also a key point, is that the use of the Public Art Fund specifically had stated it couldn't be used for temporary art. It could only be used for permanent art, which was very restrictive. And so now that fund within this policy has opened up use into a temporary space, which, as Connie pointed out, it's a lot less expensive to do temporary artworks. And right now, the Public Art Fund, because it's currently funded through either up to $25,000 a year from general fund expenditures, from the City Council, which you have done the last 2 years, or 1% of those fees, or pardon me, the construction costs of any city developments, which again, we don't do many city developments. It's not currently on private developments, so it's a very small fund currently. So it would really allow us to be able to tap in to do some interesting work that we couldn't do necessarily. It's not quite enough for a permanent artwork. It also just helps with maintenance a little bit, maintenance on a permanent project versus a temporary. You can imagine those things are very different. Roles and responsibilities, it wasn't quite as clear. We'd made hopefully that we've made a policy that is flexible enough that future generations and anybody else who gets a handle on it will be able to very clearly implement a program or develop a program that suits the needs of the community in the future. And then also there is a little bit more emphasis on community engagement, and also ties in some additional like reviews of the policy itself, which was not previously in the former draft, to make sure that it stays fresh and current and that it's more of a living document instead of firm that way. So along with the policy, you also have an ordinance that is we're introducing an ordinance that amends the existing public art section of the Municipal Code. This is not a new section, but rather an updated version, modernizing it to align with this updated policy. So I think you all have copies of a slightly updated draft from what was published in the agenda, and I believe it's here for the public as well, and we'll make it publicly available. It's just a slightly revised version that reflects some updates made. The changes include a section on CEQA that wasn't in the original format that was updated. They're mostly technical in nature. There's no substantive changes from those. So the updated ordinance maintains the core framework that was established in 2008, but expands its scope to include temporary art installations, essentially, and clarifies roles and responsibilities as those shifted a little bit, because permanent and temporary art have different responsibilities there. So this ensures the ordinance is consistent with the updated public art policy. Okay. So I think Connie covered this pretty well, but why the CFAC was tasked with updating the policy to begin with, there's lots and lots and lots of good reasons and lots of great studies out there about public art and its influence on a community and the benefits of that. From the public art policy perspective, one of the goals when we updated it is not just updating temporary art, but this also allows a much more accessible and efficient program. Before, there wasn't a direct route, so if somebody wanted to put a installation on the plaza, there wasn't an easy way to see, like, there's no application, there's no format for it, you don't know how it goes in, so it's kind of like somebody if you happen to ask the right person, or it goes through special events, or it goes through plaza use. It wasn't, some people were kind of like, well, wait, how do I do it if I'm just a one person? That this hopefully will create a playing field that's a little bit more level, that we can start considering all sorts of size there. It's flexible and dynamic, expands the opportunities for obviously what types of art installations can happen, but also what public spaces are used, because some of those could be temporary as well. And then the tools and programs that are developed can also be flexible. So we have a lot of leeway to be able to see what works, what is needed. Art is forever changing, and there's always something new and interesting that we couldn't have anticipated, that this hopefully will address that. It's transparent, gives us a very clear direction on how the decision-making can happen, and we will make sure that it's a public process. And of course, the economic and community vitality, as Connie has mentioned. It's we know it's good for businesses, it's good for visitors, it's good for hospitality, it's good for the people who live here. It's could be beneficial for everyone. I chose this picture very specifically. This was an installation that was done during COVID. If we had had this policy, it would have been much easier to get it done. But it also shows kind of we don't know what's coming ever. So that was very much on our minds as we were writing this policy and updating it to make sure that it could be pivot and be able to respond to any future changes. So I know there is often a question of like, so when can we put it into use? And really it can be put into use pretty quickly after the approval and the updated policy and the ordinance come. Then you have a adoption of the ordinance at a meeting. The ordinance is effective 30 days after that, and then that's when the policy could be implemented. During that time, you'll see at the bottom, we intend on developing some of those initial program tools at that time, so hopefully we'll just be ready to go with some ways to address any potential ideas that people have out there and want to do public art with us. And that is it for me, unless you have questions or discussion for either of us.
Great, thank you. I will take questions from the council at this point. Wellander?
I have a lot of questions, and I'm not sure this is the best place to discuss them, and there's nothing of real great substance, but I do have a couple of questions and comments. The comment I make is that we're oftentimes compared to Healdsburg and Napa as far as why aren't we doing certain things, and I think it's quite clear that we lead in the richness of history. They can't shake a stick at us, but we lag in art. And the thing that concerns me right now, and I know it's going to be done under a nexus study, but I would really like us to give consideration to create a fund, not an abusive fund, but for anything that gets constructed in Sonoma. We know that our current zoning does not allow for much in the way of commercial. We don't. You look at the history of our development of Sonoma, there's not a lot of commercial projects that get built, and if that's the principal type of project that's going to help fund public art, I think we're going to be pretty modest in our progress. So I would like, and I believe our city manager has agreed to at least look at that, so that when he brings back the nexus study for all fees, that we can kind of see it in totality, and that I think that's good. The one question that I do want to share in front of my fellow council members is that there is a note that says that regarding our annual city allocation, and it had identified it as being 1/4 of 1% of our general fund was to be allocated to the art fund. And I just happened to have my budget for 24-25 and saw that our general fund budget is $27,118,600, and if you take 1/4% of that, it equals $67,796.50. However, the way it's written right now, it's up to $25,000. Period. End of story. I'm not advocating wild spending, but at the same time, I would like us to at least have some consideration about either giving ourselves some flexibility on what we may donate, or I shouldn't say donate, allocate general fund money to the arts program. And lastly, I want to commend the ad hoc committee, because I know that this was a tremendous amount of work. It's a perfect example of how to move something that's incredibly embedded in the bureaucracy forward. You did it. I commend you. I would love to think if the council ends up passing or supporting this, that possibly early out of the gate will be a competition for a couple of temporary art pieces at the amphitheater and the Plaza. I believe that idea may have come from a new city manager sitting there on July 4th during the service and looking at these platforms where trees once existed, and it was quite, I'll call it modest in looks. So anyway, again, thank you for your work.
Do I have any other questions? Councilwoman Lowe?
So I concur with the Vice Mayor's comments regarding the funding. I also think that there are opportunities of private matching funds for a lot of this that, you know, people, they don't want to contribute to like fixing the sewer. Not a whole lot of people sign up for that, but a lot of people do want to sign up for something that they see, you know, visually and you know, touches them artistically. So sometimes, you know, you spend some money, you get some money. The other thing is, since the passage of Measure T, I think we have some more, and the fact that we will have, you know, obviously we've had this conversation about a recreation and parks department. I think that this will be part, sounds like will be part of that. And again, I want to echo the comments of the Vice Mayor and just commending everybody for the just tremendous work on this. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
I have a
Daniel,
question.
Daniel.
You mentioned about the temporary. Usually, what is the time term? And half year or 1 year or any definition?
So we do have a definition, and then with temporary art, it really could be, I mean, very temporary. If you really are getting into it, it could be, you know, effervescent, shall we say. But for our purposes, it's typically a couple of weeks to a couple of years, but for our purposes, it is from 0 to 20 years is what we consider temporary art, and because over 20 years is considered permanent.
Great, thank you.
I'd like
And
to-
also, I like the idea and the, you know, putting some allocation, very, very conservative, very minimal, because it represents out in the city, council support art in our town. Yeah, thank you.
I'd also like to mention that and I know Napa, and we compare ourselves a lot to Napa and Healdsburg or others do, but Napa's created the Lighted Arts Festival, which is a very temporary type of thing. There are many, many lights left over and don't quite make it, but they could be in our city and borrowed and projected and part of a film festival, you know, where we're showing a film on the city building, or so it's just limited by your creativity and your imagination.
Councilmember Gurney.
Well, I just want to chime in and congratulate you on some really, really good quality work here. I too think about the value of this. I'm married to an artist, and I can't tell you the number of times I've been reminded we need more public art. So thank you. And with regards to the funding that we're discussing, I mean, I think at some point when you're up and running with this new program, that there's an opportunity to forecast into the future a little bit in terms of installations, and that could then be folded into perhaps the budget process, so that we can actually plan for those kinds of expenses in addition to assessing projects and what have you. And last but not least, this is a great opportunity to create an infectious culture around the arts, and as you may or may not know, there are 2 pads out in front of the community center that don't get a lot of use, and they have in the past, but there are opportunities, I think, to encourage other organizations to step up and bring something to the table. Thank you.
So I don't have any questions, but I will take public comment at this time. Do we have anybody that would like to make a comment on this agenda item? All right, seeing none, I'm going to move it back to comments from the council and discussion specifically to the acceptance of this policy and of the ordinance.
Do we need to deal with those individually, or can we do it all in one motion with the resolution?
The recommended motion includes them both. I would just advise you that we do have, as Ms. Tracy mentioned, an updated ordinance that was distributed. So we would be moving to introduce the ordinance, the updated ordinance that's been provided.
So we would be accepting the policy and
The-
moving to accept the introduction of the ordinance, and then the ordinance would come back. Is that correct?
Correct. It's a motion to adopt the resolution
Okay.
to approve the policy and introduce the ordinance amending chapter 19.51 as amended, as we've amended it today, of the municipal code.
Got it. So if we don't, I do want to make just one other comment. I don't want to repeat everything everybody else said, but it is really exciting and it can be infectious. And I love the idea of creating opportunities for curiosity, what this can do in regards to expanding imagination, and a lot of the discussions we've had about thinking big about Sonoma and what it can really, my goal is the role that it can play too in economic development, and the role that the creative economy, which is a very lucrative economy nationally, how the role it could play here in Sonoma. So do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion as expressed in words by our city attorney.
Second.
I second.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Ding. We'll take the vote. Thank you.
Councilmember Ding,
Aye.
Councilmember Lowe,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wellander,
Yes.
Councilmember Gurney,
Yes.
Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
Great work. All right, moving on. So now we're going to go backwards. Yes, moving on or backwards. And we are going to go into our second public meeting of the evening. And that is in regards to, we're almost there. There we go. So we are introducing a public hearing to introduce an ordinance amending the Sonoma Municipal Code, chapters 19.41, 2-unit residential development, and chapter 19.72, parcel maps for urban lot splits, and finding this action is not a project under the Division 13 of the Public Resources Code. And once again, our Development Director, Jennifer Gates, is going to be presenting.
All right, thank you, Mayor and City Council. As stated, we're going to be talking about SB 9 2-unit development and urban lot split. So I just wanted to start with a little history. So Senate Bill 9 was approved in September of 2021 and went into effect on January 1st of 2022. And this affected two sections of the state law, including planning law and the Subdivision Map Act. So the first was to create a ministerial approval process for qualifying a 2-unit development within single-family residential zones. And then it also, in the Subdivision Map Act, created a ministerial approval of a parcel map for urban lot splits within a single-family residential zone. In December 15th of 2021, the city adopted an urgency ordinance. And then in March of 2022, HCD released guidance on SB 9 implementation. During this time, there has been a few different versions and revisions to our SB 9, what I call our SB 9 ordinance, or our 2-unit development and urban lot split ordinances. And however, those were never seen all the way through the process. So on June 18th, staff commenced a new process to revise our SB 9 ordinance. And on June 18th and August 22nd, Planning Commission had a regular meeting where we discussed and they provided direction on revisions to our existing ordinance. And then what happened was during that time when staff was making those changes, Senate Bill 450 was approved by the state and it goes into effect on January 1st of this year, so just in a few more weeks. And it clarifies that local jurisdictions cannot impose any objective zoning standards, objective subdivision standards, or objective design standards that are more restrictive than our underlying zone. It also had removed alteration to existing walls as an exemption from the 2-unit development, and it also removes physical environment from consideration during a denial. So with those changes, staff went back to Planning Commission with that understanding of SB 450 coming into play and provided discussed it with Planning Commission, where they provided further direction. We reviewed line by line the ordinances. And on November 21st, Planning Commission adopted a resolution recommending that City Council adopt the proposed ordinance as presented. So just to give a little background, SB 9 in relation to other laws, so our California Environmental Quality Act does not apply to any two-unit development or urban lot split, because it only requires a ministerial approval or administrative. It also does not apply to ordinances that implement this law. Also, the Housing Crisis Act. So per HCD in their guidance, local implementing ordinances should not reduce the intensity of land use on housing sites, including the reductions in height, lot coverage, or FAR, increased open space or increased setbacks, etc., and that they are subject to permit streamlining act completeness deadlines. And this is kind of, that first item is what was actually stated in our new SB 450 as well. So it's just implementing what HCD's guidance was. So for projects that qualify, just to provide some more clarity around this ordinance, it affects zoned single-family residential. So technically in our city, rural residential and rural hillside are the only two zones that only allow single-family homes. In discussions with Planning Commission, they voted to also include residential Lowe and residential Sonoma, because the majority of the uses would be single-family due to the minimum lot size that we have and the average lot size in those districts. So they had recommended that we add those two. The parcel has to also meet location requirements. So a property in this section of the law is associated with Senate Bill 35, if you're following all the lovely housing bills that have come across in the years. That's what that section is referencing. So this is that the property cannot be considered prime farmland, and that is defined. It cannot be a wetland, and it cannot be identified for conservation or under a conservation easement or a habitat for a protected species. The property cannot be unless meeting specified requirements within a very high fire safety zone, a hazardous waste site, a delineated earthquake fault zone, or within a 100-year floodplain or floodway. And the reason why it says unless meeting specified requirements is because just like any other development in the city, we have specific requirements. If you're in those types of areas, so let's say that you're in a 100-year floodplain or floodway, then we have height requirements in which you have to set your base floor. So if you meet those standards, then you're allowed to develop. In addition, what projects qualify, the site is not listed. So you cannot be listed as a state or local historic landmark or located within a listed state or local historic district. They have to actually be listed. They cannot be determined eligible, and our historic overlay that we currently have is not a historic district. It is just a zone that was identified. So I know that previous ordinance did identify that you couldn't be within the historic overlay, but that actually does not apply. The project can also not alter or demolish any deed restricted affordable housing, any rent controlled housing, housing that's invoked by the Ellis Act, and housing occupied by a tenant in the last 3 years. So what projects qualify for an urban lot split? So these are two different things, but they can be combined together. Lot splits result in approximately 2 equal-sized lots, but you have a 60-40 max. You cannot be 70-30%. It has to be 60-40 or up to 50-50. Each lot is at least 1,200 square feet. So it would require a 2,400 square foot lot if it was doing its 50-50, or a 3,000 square foot lot if it was 60-40. Does that make sense? The lot split could not have been established on a prior SB 9 lot split. So you can't divide it and then divide again. Neither the owner nor any person acting in concert with an owner, which is now defined in our new ordinance, has previously subdivided an adjacent parcel through an SB 9 lot split. So the idea being, let's say you went and did a development of a project development and maybe you had 5 lots. You can't then subdivide each one of those lots being the owner of that lot or the one next to it. So you can't buy two lots next to each other, and then go and divide both those lots. So it would not allow you to do that. The requirements also require for approval of 2-unit development on a single lot. Sorry, I forgot to delete that 25% exterior wall. Standards that may be applied to 2-unit residential developments. So the rear and side setbacks of less than 4 feet, but we are setting that 4 feet maximum in our ordinance. It requires that one on-site space per unit be the maximum, and that no on-site parking requirements when the parcel is located within a half-mile walking distance of either a high-quality transit corridor or a major stop. So we have included those in our ordinance. What standards cannot be applied to 2-unit residential development? Any standards that would not physically allow the development of 2 800-square-foot primary units, and non-objective standards. So we have gone through the previous ordinance, removed any subjective requirements, as well as anything that was not, clarified that any standards that would physically preclude 2 800-square-foot primary units would not apply. So for urban lot splits, the standards that may be applied is that we can require easements needed for public services and facilities. We can require access or provide access to or adjoin the public right-of-way, so these are clarified in the ordinance themselves. To allow more than 2 primary units on each parcel created through an urban lot split, and that includes ADUs, junior ADUs, density bonus, and units created by duplexes. Can limit the development on each lot to 2 primary residences with no ADUs and junior ADUs or other type of housing units. This ordinance does exactly this. It does 2-unit developments are allowed. So if we did not do an urban lot split, you can get 2 units, and then you can have ADU corresponding with each unit. If you do an urban lot split, you can only have 2 units on each one of those lots. So maximum 4 units. The rear and side setbacks are 4 feet maximum is what we have identified, and that we require the one on-site parking spot. So what we cannot apply to urban lot splits, we cannot require right-of-way dedications or construction of off-site improvements, except as needed for utilities. We can't impose any owner occupancy requirements, except for, you'll see, there's one standard that you'll see in a second. We can't require the correction of any non-conforming zoning conditions as a condition of approval. So if an existing house already exists on the lot and it's non-conforming, we can't make it conforming. We also, with the lot split, and it gets really close to a house, let's say, that's existing, we can't move that house or make them tear that down to build another house, even if it creates a nonconformity. Any non-objective standards, and again, any standards that would not allow the development of the 2 800-square-foot units. What we must apply to urban lot splits is that applicants must sign an affidavit stating that they intend to occupy one of the units as their principal residence for at least 3 years from the date of approval of that lot split. But no other occupancy requirements are allowed. We can require that those uses be limited to only residential uses, and that the rental of the units are longer than 30 days. So again, no vacation rentals would be permissible regardless if the city even did allow that. So this ordinance is implementing SB 9, so therefore it is exempt, as discussed earlier, from CEQA, and that is under Division 13 of our Public Resource Code. And staff's recommendation is to introduce the City Council ordinance that is amending the Municipal Code Chapters 19.41 and 19.72, and finding this action is not a project under Division 13. And staff is available to answer any questions that you may have.
So at this point, I am going to open it up to questions from council to staff. Do we have any questions?
First question. When there was originally SB 9, and I think it was, can you recall how many actual applicants were submitted or applications that were submitted to take advantage of SB 9?
I am not aware of any.
Okay. And secondly, based upon your interpretation of the, is it AB 450 or is it SB 450? I get confused.
SB.
SB, okay. Whether or not these new requirements or flexible means are going to open up the floodgate? Again, I was just curious from your professional planning standpoint.
We currently have one in process that has been in discussion for about a year now, but that is the only one that I am aware of. I have heard there have been some out in the county, but again, I have not heard of it being heavily used throughout the state of California. There's not a lot of evidence of it being used.
How vulnerable are we, do you think, to what I would call a diluting of our historic fabric when this, that the overlay will not be respected? In other words, as I heard you speak, you said that this now does not respect the overlay. And we know that our historic, I'll call it the fabric, is something that makes our town pretty special. Do you envision a significant change to the, what I'll call the building landscape?
I don't necessarily. I see large lots wanting to do this potentially that aren't in a way to divide except through this process, or maybe they want to go through a ministerial process instead of a discretionary process to do what they're wanting to do. We do have a few historic districts, so that does help in some areas, but most of those are commercial, so they're not residential. The key on this is going to be the development of our objective design standards and how we apply those for multiple unit developments on what we would have considered a single family lot.
And do you have any concerns about now the mandate that the parcel size can be as small as 1,200 square feet, and then if you happen to build out that 800 square foot unit, that does not leave for a whole bunch of open space?
It does not leave a bunch of open space. We did look and we showed at the planning commission meetings what that would look like on our smaller lots and how we would divide space, because you only have to allow the 800 square feet. You do not have to allow for more than that. As long as the underlying zoning, so it meets the underlying zoning, right? So the height, the floor area ratio, the site coverage, all those things still apply. So you're still applying whatever that underlying zoning is to a 1,200 square foot lot in this case. But they could only get 800. They could do a 400 square foot, 2-story. So it's going to be with staff working with them to present kind of like the best case. But they can, again, allow 800 square feet ministerially.
And I'm guessing that the reason they are not requiring or not allowing us to require a street tree is that it's their perception that if we required a street tree, that might preclude the ability to build on that 1,200 square foot lot?
No, so they're saying no new right-of-way dedications and no public improvement, so we couldn't require them to do like a sidewalk or do any of the street frontage improvements.
I thought I saw it where they didn't have to do a street tree.
They don't have to do any infrastructure in the public right-of-way. So even a street tree, they wouldn't have to do those things. They would still need to meet our WELO requirements and.
Right, but I guess it gets back down to the discussion of the goals we had about continuing to push for the shading of our community. Well, if you don't require a street tree, I mean, that's, and it just that, I'm having a hard time understanding the logic behind the exclusion. If they truly felt that by requiring a street tree, they're not gonna be able to develop that parcel, and there goes a couple of housing units, I don't know, it just seems it's counterproductive to some of the other goals that we have for this community. So, thank you.
Any other questions?
Do you have a list on how many, units, existing units qualified, roughly? Roughly, just roughly.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but yes, I did look that
Okay.
up. Sorry, it's been 6 months.
That's fine.
All right, so any other questions? Otherwise, we are going to open for the public hearing. All right, I am now opening the public hearing. Do we have anybody in the public that would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And now I'm going to move on to comments from the council.
I would like to support, because it's really will help our local residents especially, and more young people come back and to join the parents, grandparents, share, for them to stay, provide this kind of updated policy and ordinance will help them.
Councilwoman Lowe.
Mr. Ding, was that a motion to move approval of the introduction of the ordinance? In
Yeah.
which case, I'd like to second that.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Do we have any other comments?
Through the mayor.
Vice
Through-
Mayor.
Through the mayor, could I ask just a quick question to staff about something I forgot to ask?
Yes, you may. A quick one.
I know that one of our overarching goals has been to expedite review processes, and I see that in this we've changed from an obligation of a 30-day review to a 60-day review, which is counterproductive to what I'm hoping that we're going to be able to portray to the community. Has the review of these types of projects gotten more difficult, or why did we have it at one time 30 days and now we're doubling it to 60?
The ordinance itself identified that 60-day maximum, and so we are mimicking that SB 450. Doesn't mean that we will maximize the amount of time available to staff to review. So our goal is always 30 days, if not less. In this case, this is a building permit, so our goal will be less than 30 days.
Thank you.
And if we have no further comments, let's take a roll call vote.
Councilmember Dean,
Aye.
Councilmember Lowe,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wellander,
Yes.
Councilmember Gurney,
Yes.
and Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Now we are going to move forward again, and we are going to go to 11.1, and we are going to bring up our Lisa Jansen, our Senior Management Analysis, to discuss our resolution approving the conditions for the operation for Sonoma's Tuesday night market.
Good evening, Mayor Farrar-Rivas and City Council. I'm excited to be here tonight. I missed last year's review of the Tuesday night market, so I'm pleased to be here. So quickly, I thought we'd start with a quick recap of the 2024 market. This year, we saw a very large increase in our nonprofit community partners participating in the market. We had to expand this area out. I don't know if everyone realized it, but that area on the pathway going into the restrooms, that whole area ended up being a nonprofit area. And every Tuesday night, there was some really fun programming that was taking place. So We hope to continue that, and it brings a vibrancy to our community, and it gives our nonprofits an opportunity to participate. The co-programming, just wanted to highlight one of our nonprofits, the Sonoma Community Center, did an amazing job with a zucchini maker workshop, which was something we've been talking about for years, but it was really fun because what it did is it brought extra enthusiasm for the zucchini races, and for those that participated, got to see the beautiful displays and the creativity. It was really a wonderful event, and again, we saw an uptick in the number of community members participating in that event. Sponsorships this year, we really tried to expand it. I spent a lot of time working with sponsors on them and trying to customize them, but this year's our focus was really on trying to identify greening sponsors and just powering the stage. So Sonoma Clean Power came in and helped sponsor the event, and Spark came in and sponsored the Gurney as the greening sponsor, which was creative. And so those sponsorships helped us kind of launch and bring back the bike valet program. And we worked with the local bicycle coalition, who was on site every night. And something new that we added this year to that program was for every individual that rode their bike to the market, they got a $1 token that was good for any of the farm stands. So it was a little giving back to the community and trying to encourage good behavior around transportation. The larger market team this year, we did add a Public Works facility staff member to the market team this year, and we saw a huge benefit. It was really nice having someone that could carry the signs, put the signs out, help set up the market, and so this year we plan to continue with pretty much all the same vendor or all the same contractors or team members. On-site security, something that was new in 2024 is we enlisted the help of Sonoma PD, and this brought a level of calmness to some of the issues that we had been facing in the past. So it was really nice to have our Sonoma PD team be part of the event, and their calming measures, I think, really worked. We saw a decrease in the number of dogs, which was lovely, and less smoking on site, and just all those ordinances that sometimes the community members forget to follow. And then just fiscal responsibility. When we went into the market for 2024 in December of last year, we had two budgets. One was fully burdened budget that included staff allocation and also garbage and sorting and recycling. And I don't know if you guys remember, but that budget for our garbage sorting and recycling is almost $40,000. It's over $2,000 a market. And so at that point, we're in the middle of our franchise agreement with Sonoma Garbage Collectors, so we weren't sure if they were going to be able to cover those costs for us through our franchise agreement. It turned out that in 2024, that didn't come to fruition, but we do have plans for 2025, and so we'll be working with their new operations coordinator and looking to solidify that relationship. So operations for 2025, big difference, I think, this year. It'll still remain May through September, unless you guys make a different decision. But 22 markets this year. We're going up from 19 in 2024. Those markets affect the expenses, so you'll see in the budget that that the expenses look higher year over year, and that's really because the number of markets increased. Staffing will be consistent to 2024. Security, again, will be handled by Sonoma PD. Sonoma Valley Fire, again this year, has graciously donated the ALS ambulance to the event. So that's a great cost savings to the event itself, and then just what an amazing partnership with the city Sonoma Fire has. We're going to showcase local musicians again, working with our Sonoma Valley Music group. And there's a following slide, and I'll talk about some of the newer things that we're going to be adding. And one of them is on the music front. And then Exhibit A is the red line version of the current conditions of operations for the Tuesday night market. And I've made some recommended updates to that. And really what I try to do is mainstream them so that every year I'm not having to come back and say 2024 or 2025. So I've kind of rewrote them in a way that as part of the adoption of the resolution annually, we won't have to hopefully keep bringing them back. And then just, again, always a commitment to the fiscal responsibility. This year's with the increase in some sponsorship sales and the additional revenue from the additional stalls due to the number of markets. We're looking at breaking even this year and actually having close to $8,000 funneled back into the general fund. So new for the 2025 season. So we have been hearing over the last couple of years from especially our farmers that going dark on the week of 4th of July, even though it's nice to give the plaza a break and it's nice to create space between two very large events, 4th of July and the farmers market, that really for the farmers, it's lost opportunities. And so they're asking and made the request that we could host a farmers market the week of 4th of July. 4th of July this next year is on the Friday, so we have a little bit more space. So it's up there. If it's something that you want to strike from the proposal, you have the ability to do so. The other thing is the city party integration. So staff is recommending that the city party gets co-located with the Tuesday night market. Obviously, we'll have to make some operational adjustments. One of the main reasons this is happening is that we have already approved Transcendence Theater to occur on what would normally be our Thursday for the city party. So instead of trying to compete with Transcendence, we thought, well, we'll move the city party to the Tuesday night, kind of rearrange it operationally, and we'll do both events the same night. And then something I'm really excited about, and something that Music in Place, who has been doing a series of weekly events in the amphitheater, they've come into our community over the last 2 years and really done some amazing programming, and they are looking to help build out a youth music program. So about 3 years ago, we started to notice a little uptick of youth members coming into the Grinstead, which is not where we program typically, and performing. And what we noticed is that people and their families of those youth really like seeing it. So working with Rod and his team with Music in Place, we're looking to really build that out and put forth some effort. Music in Place is also doing kind of a Battle of the Bands event in May with the community center. So I think this will tie in nicely with those objectives of theirs. So again, we want to continue to build out our community programming with our partners. The Sonoma Community Center has already said we want to do this again for the zucchini races, so we're looking forward to that. I have been in touch with Sonoma Valley. We have a food weaver that was hired by the Catalyst Group, and they're doing some really amazing work here in Sonoma Valley. One of the things, or an area of opportunity that we've identified is some farm boxes, or even some use of the EBT funding. So our market, we are allowed to accept EBT. We do it through a token program. We also do a market match, which is 100%. There's not a lot of other areas or jurisdictions that offer 100% match. Usually it's like $10, but here in Sonoma, both our market, Friday morning market, do it. And what that does is it gives it increases the purchasing power for individuals that are on CalFresh. So really want to try to leverage that program in 2025. And then again, I mentioned our new franchise agreement with Sonoma Garbage Collectors. So this is going to significantly impact what we've been paying in a good way for sorting and waste expenses. And we're looking forward to kind of refining our green policies with this new vendor. So there is a clause in their agreement that they can outsource this work. And so I did, just so that everyone's aware, I did go ahead and forward over, we've been using Green Mary as our sorting entity, and she does an exceptional job. And so we hope to continue to see that level of services. And so that's our goal. And then I'm here to answer questions, any questions you may have, with the recommendation that if you feel positive about the event, you will approve the resolution as is or make any changes. I think one of the things that I didn't mention, I apologize, is, September has been a difficult month for us, typically just because it gets so dark so soon. And so one of the things I did mention in the staff report, which I didn't in speaking tonight, was changing the hours of operations for that September market. And having it open sooner and close by 7:30, just so that we can get people out of the plaza when there's light, out and not in the dark. So it helps.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa. So at this point, do we have any questions from the council?
How about a dog? If any.
Well, so this year we implemented, we had staff members, our PIO, Sarah, created this really nice flyer and handout. And so instead of engaging with people, we kind of just walked over and handed them a flyer, and then just having Sonoma PD on site was very calming. It was really nice. It was
That works
a better
smart.
year.
Yeah. Work smart, that's
Yes.
great.
Yes. Councilmember Gurney.
Yeah, a couple of comments and then, well, one question real quickly on the hours that you just described. Starting at 4:30, does that apply to all the markets?
No. So that would just be the month of September.
Month of September?
Yes. Yeah,
All
so
right.
the normal market hours are from 5 o'clock in the evening to 8 p.m. We have a hard stop at 8 p.m. It allows us to kind of get the vendors out of the area while there's still light. And it causes a nice calming closure of the market instead of letting it go until sunset or whatever the other methods were.
My only thought was that could create a little bit of confusion for attendees, so.
So it will, and
yeah.
we'll do our best to to message it. And I think
Yeah.
by getting your approval earlier, it'll give us more time in the messaging to not just the community, but the vendors as well.
And just a couple of comments, the budget, I think I was the one that was really more concerned about the expenditure to the city. If you can come in even or in the black, that'd be very impressive, so I look forward to that. Incorporating the city party, I think, is an excellent move into one of the Tuesday night markets. And you mentioned that the musicians they'll showcase local talent, and I would just like to emphasize that with music in place, they too should emphasize local talent for their youth program that they're working on, so.
I think that's the intention behind this, but I will definitely let them know that
Thank you.
they'll have to follow the same policies.
And by local, we mean Sonoma Valley.
Correct.
Other questions? Vice Mayor Wellander.
It's just Ron. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I'm a big advocate of keeping the name Farmers Market true. So I'd love for you to continue to push hard with Jerry to see if we can bring in more produce vendors. And I would love to think that you could be creative in figuring out some incentives, possibly. And then what struck me is, again, I have no idea the details. It's just an aspiration on my part. If we brought in more vendors and there needed to be a purchase of their product, and then we can give that product to SOS, Meals on Wheels, something like that that could somehow tip it. I would love to kind of explore that because, again, I think the sound of a farmer's market is very romantic compared to a flea market.
I agree with you. And I think that's the intent with working with the food weaver.
All right, I am going to, yes?
I just want to also say I think that moving the party to the Tuesdays is a great idea. I always thought it was on a Tuesday, and every year I have to say, why is it on a Thursday? I thought it was on Tuesday with the farmer's market. I mean, it just seems like it goes so well. But that's another thing we're going to have to tell people, even people like me who, forever thought it was on Tuesday. But so I think that's great. And I also approve the moving, adding one on the 4th of July, you know, because people do look forward to it. People love the farmer's market. They really do. Everyone looks forward to going down there and seeing their friends and everything. It's a very local thing. And, you know, the other thing is I noticed that a lot of the merchants around the plaza, especially the restaurants, tend to be closed on Tuesday. It's normally anyway because of just the way the tourist market works. But any way that we can support the merchants that are open on Tuesday, I think would be great. Because you know, we bring people down there, but the feedback we've received is it doesn't necessarily bring business. And so anything we can do to work with the merchants on Tuesday to amplify whatever they're doing would be great. Thanks.
Thank you.
I would just like to agree with Councilwoman Lowe in regards to working with the merchants on the plaza of how we can make sure that this is, you know, the Tuesday nights really help their business as well too. And I know Tuesday nights, many of them are closed. And just so that they know ahead of time that there's going to be a couple markets that are going to start earlier, because then that really does cut into the retail businesses on the market, you know, because people are like just trying to get a space in the plaza. But those were just follow-up to those questions. So I don't think we have any more questions. I'm going to ask for public comment at this point. Would anybody like to provide public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to move it back to the council for questions or a motion. We tend to seem to question and comment at the same time, but it's all right. This is the comment period. Any additional comments?
The only comment I'd like to make is publicly express appreciation to the fire district for working with us in a true community spirit on providing that ambulance service.
I do have a comment, and I appreciated that our local police department is taking a stronger role here. I do want to emphasize that I have heard still a lot of people upset over the smoking because that it travels, you know, to other than where you want it to go. So if we want to encourage young people to want to come with their kids, we have to really, I think, be pretty direct in terms of smoking on the plaza. Thank you.
Yeah, and hopefully no smoking dogs, otherwise people would really be up in arms. So I just also really appreciate also the focus on the green initiatives, and I know how hard it is to implement some of those green policies, but I think the more work that we can be doing with our vendors ahead of time that they recognize that this is not a, you know, like a wish list, but it is really, you know, a requirement that because then it also will really help with the whole collection of compostable items. So great. So do I have a motion?
I can move the motion. That is move to approve, adopt.
Do I have
And,
adopt a motion to
proposal
adopt?
changes, yeah.
Okay.
Just move to approve and accept the proposed changes.
Yeah, to the conditions for the operation
Yeah,
of
the
the Tuesday night
operation,
market.
Tuesday night market, the draft 2025, and the budget, and also the approve 2025 fees for Sonoma's and the Tuesday night market as maximum to be charged.
Second.
City Clerk Barr, can you take the roll call?
Councilmember Dean,
Aye.
Councilmember Lowe,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wellander,
Yes.
Councilmember Gurney,
Yes.
Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Yes.
Thank you, the motion
And I think I'm
carries.
going to try to trade my Tesla in for one of those zucchini cars, because I don't think they need gas.
They don't need electricity either.
All right, so moving on
They
to
make cars gather.
the last agenda of the item. item on the agenda. You did, I know. I've got to watch out for that. Okay, so we're going now to 11.2, the appointment of a youth member of the Planning Commission. And our city clerk, Rebecca Barr, is going to present that for us.
This will be short presentation. Each of the city commissions have a youth member that serves a 2-year term. At this time, the last remaining vacancy is on the Planning Commission, and you have received 2 applications for consideration that were in the packet. They were also sent out for council review and posted last week for review. This position is appointed by a majority vote of the city council. So with that, if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll turn it back to the council.
Do we have any questions?
Yes.
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 We do have
So,
a question.
The 2 candidates, I didn't have the information in front of me, but do either of them drive a vehicle?
Yeah.
And the only reason, I thought they were both good candidates, but I'm still thinking about the library commissioner. And I don't know that there's a reason why we can't appoint a youthful library commissioner if they were interested, but I'm just throwing that out.
I
as an
think we
idea.
would have to check the bylaws to see if that's a,
Okay, all right. Outside the box, what can I say? Okay.
So I'm trying to find the applications here. Let's see if they're in the email. That's right. Yes. Oh, thank you very
they're
much.
also in the packet, Mayor
Oh,
Farrar-Rivas.
good. Thank you. They're right in front of me. We'd love that. But then look at this. All right. So at this point, do we have, so no other questions? We'll open it for public comment. Seeing no public comment, we have a very quiet commenting section tonight. Maybe there's exciting things to come. So now I would like to open it for comments from the council.
Well, after reviewing both candidates, are both qualified in my opinion. I thought Isabel Pedersen was a better candidate, lives in the city, whereas Maya does live outside the city, but I don't think that's critical either way. But I would nominate Isabel Pedersen.
Do I have a second?
I second.
That's Councilmember Ding with a second. Any further discussion? All right, I will send it back to you, City Clerk Barr, for a roll call.
Councilmember Ding,
Aye.
Councilmember Lowe, Vice Mayor Wellander,
Yes.
Councilmember Gurney,
Yes.
Mayor Farrar-Rivas.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
I think we are going to move on to our last agenda item for the evening, which I think that was it, because 11.3 we already did. Yahoo! So what I'm going to do now
We do have
is,
second public comment.
pardon me, is reopen for the second session of public comment.
Yes.
Yes.
That's at your discretion, Madam Mayor, but it's only required if there were more than 10 people who commented
Oh,
initially.
okay, thank you. This is why we have all of these folks here, to keep us guided in the right path. Okay, so now I'm going to move to the final item on the agenda, which is, I think it's, what is that word? Oh, it's adjournment.